Hey there, Hi-Fi leaders. Welcome back to the Hi-Fi Preschool and Kids Weekly Training Podcast. I'm Jeremy, and I'm so glad that you are with us today. Speaking of us, who is us today? Us is Rachel and Crystal. Welcome, ladies.
Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeremy.
So glad that y'all are here with us, ladies, because we have a lot for our preschool and kids leaders. Because, and I say this nearly every time we do a familiar story, and that is this, that we have an opportunity today to take a fresh look at a very familiar story. And so our story this week is David and Goliath. We're going to get to that in a second. But we're talking about God can be trusted, and that's not the way we always look at that story. And so as we continue on this month where we're talking about God takes care of me for preschoolers, and I am secure for kids. Just as a reminder, that theme, that whole big deal that we do in preschool is every day in every way God takes care of me, because we want preschoolers to see that every single day of their life we wake up new and God's going to take care of them. And in every way, even ways that we don't even know, God can still and will still take care of us. And the fact that we can be secure in Jesus, well, that's just always awesome, isn't it? It's always awesome. So that's what we get to help kids understand with our theme this month. And we're halfway through. We're keep on chugging along here. Our theme verse is Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. And so before we get into back to David Goliath, though, ladies, we always like to ask this question. And so our main idea this week is God can always be trusted. God can always be trusted. Right? Thinking about your own families. Who is the most trustworthy? And on the other side of the coin, who's the least trustworthy person in your family?
Well, I will say the least trustworthy would be my late son, Micah. Micah passed away in 2024. But that kid could not keep a secret to save his life, especially if it had to do with presents. He just would get this, like, when people are trying so hard not to smile, that is Micah every time. So if you're like, hey, so like, what did so-and-so get me? And he'd be like, I'm not going to tell you. You could just start listing things and know when you were getting close, because he just could not hide it on his face, which is ridiculous because he was such a good actor, but he could not keep a secret to save his life. On the other hand, my son, Noah, and you both have met Noah now, like Noah is so sweet and wonderful, but he is one of the most emotionless people in the world. So if he knows something, you would never know, because nothing really ever changes in his facial expressions. He always just kind of looks like calm, like not happy, not sad, but just totally calm. And so that kid, I know, can keep a secret. So I would trust him. He could get the nuclear codes and he wouldn't give them away for anything. So yes.
That's funny. Rachel, what about you?
I would say my husband, Roger, would probably be the most trustworthy person I know, because he is like Noah. He will not give away a secret. He's just like a vault. He keeps it in. I asked his mom one time what word she would have used to describe him when he was a kid, and she said stoic, which is probably pretty true. Um, but he just keeps it in. You'll never get it out of him. Least trustworthy, honestly, probably me. I cannot keep a secret to save my life. And it's not that I want to blab it. It's just that I am so excited I can't keep it in. Um, my father-in-law says it's my good Baptist upbringing that I can't do it. Like, it just comes out. I've given away surprise parties. I've given away a birth announcement. Like, I cannot keep it quiet.
Oh, that's funny.
That's good. For me, I don't know that I can go the most trustworthy. In important matters, I feel like my family's pretty trustworthy. My kids are, my wife is. So I don't really know, but I'll give a story about least trustworthy, and this not really that, but I think I mentioned this last month when we were talking about Christmas, that one of our traditions is just in our family with me, my wife, and our kids. We do Secret Santa, and we pick each other's names, and we go there. And I mean, I've tried all these different ways to try to say it's secret, like keep it a secret. And so we'll go into the store, and last year, 2024 was 2 years ago, like 2 Christmases ago. In 2024, it was we chose Hobby Lobby was our thing. We always try to use a different store, a different store. And by the time we leave, they all know each other's thing. Like we don't even get out of the store, and they've like, oh, I figured it out, and I figured it out, and you get it, and they're trying to, and like just like keep it a secret, y'all. Like you're okay, but. So they're always trying to figure each other out and, put pressure on, and, oh, they're all going to, somebody's going to cave. Go, oh, yeah, I got so-and-so. So they, when they get together, they are definitely not very trustworthy, especially around the Secret Santa tradition in our house. But here's the thing, and we've talked about some this month already, that people can let us down. People can be untrustworthy because at some point or another, regardless of how stoic you are, or rather how blabbermouth you are, Rachel, we can all, at some point, we all try we want to do things our own way, and we do what we think is best instead of what God says is best, and we just all do that. And I say that lovingly, Rachel, because I am probably the one who's going to share information to try to get people to like me the most. Like I'm going to try to I'm going to give them a little insight or something, because I want to feel better about myself and people show that they love me. So I'm probably the least trustworthy in my family. But we know, because this is what we're talking about, I am secure. God will take care of me. God takes care of me. That God can be trusted no matter what. We don't have to worry. I did have a kid ask me one time, well, if we all have the Holy Spirit, what if I tell God something? Is he going to tell somebody else? The Holy Spirit going to tell somebody else? No, God's not going to do that. It is a good question. Like, no, God's not going to tell your secrets. He can be trusted. And so that's kind of what we're talking about this week, under this main idea that God can always be trusted. And I mentioned earlier, we're using maybe an unusual story for this particular main idea, but it's a very familiar story, and so we chose this story particularly because we think there's something about the trustworthiness of God in this story of David and Goliath. And so while we often talk about the story of David and Goliath, about God conquering giants, or sometimes about God providing a solution, or any number of things, there's the trustworthiness of God is on display in the story of David and Goliath. And Crystal, walk us through that. How do we make this connection of, maybe it's a different kind of connection than what we're typically used to making in the story of David and Goliath, to demonstrate that God can always be trusted?
Yeah, so I know that when we can say that we're taking a different way of looking at the story, please know that we never change the story. Like we're not adding things, we're not changing anything in the scripture, but it's the way that we talk about it is we're kind of taking a different view at this story. Does the story of David and Goliath show that God is powerful? 100% it does. Yeah. Just as a quick refresh of the story, God's people, the Israelites, are fighting against their enemies called the Philistines. The Philistines have a giant, over 9 feet tall Goliath, who they have essentially said, if you can have somebody defeat him, like, we'll surrender, we'll give up. And of course, the Israelites are absolutely terrified. David is a young person in his family. He's got brothers fighting in this war. And so his dad sends David to go and bring some food and some supplies to his brothers who are on the battle lines. And so when David gets there and he sees how afraid the army is, he kind of looks and he says, why are you afraid? Like, God is with us. Who is this giant Philistine to think that he could defeat God's people? And so bravely, he goes and he talks to King Saul, and King Saul says, I think you're crazy. He doesn't say that. That's the crystal version. I think you're crazy, but if you're going to go, take my armor, since you don't have any, and go out and fight him. David tries to put it on. He's like, this doesn't fit me. I'm just going to bring what I would normally bring, taking care of my sheep. So he gets his sling. He gets 5 stones. He goes out. Goliath kind of makes fun of him. David puts the stone in the sling. He whips it around and shoots it at Goliath. It sinks into his head, and Goliath dies, and they are victorious. So God is so powerful. We know that, but we are excited to, with this story, talk about how much David trusted God. From the very beginning, this young man, untrained in the military, shows up against these guys who have been shaking in their boots. So from the beginning, David trusted God in this story. We see that he shows up. He sees everybody. They're so afraid. And David says, we don't need to be afraid. We can trust that God has given us the victory. That young man, they must have thought he was out of his mind. He hasn't been there. He just saw Goliath for the first time. We don't even know if other people have actually tried to fight him and then maybe died in the process. Like we don't know what any of these guys have gone through. But David just shows up not arrogantly, but with this incredible faith and trust in God. And then when he talks to King Saul and the armor doesn't fit, he still is trusting. He's like, I know that God is going to give us the victory. And then God does. And so it's an incredible example, not just of God's power, but the fact that we can trust that God will do what he says he will do. When he tells his people, you will have victory, they can trust that he will bring victory. When he tells us that he will love us and be with us, we can always trust that he will love us and be with us. No matter what we face, no matter what is going on, God is trustworthy, and we can turn to him and walk in faith just like David did.
Crystal, such a great reminder. Thanks for calling out. So yes, we're not changing the story. We're not picking and choosing the details. But as you were leaning there, I opened it up because I wanted to see. David says to Goliath, he says, "Today, he says, I come against you in the name of the Lord." He says, "Today I'll strike you down." That to stand as the little guy in front of this big giant is an amazing amount of trust. Yes, God's power. God's the one who did it, so we don't diminish that. But
yes,
but that is an amazing amount of trust that David felt so secure in his calling, in his personhood, in his identity, in who God had called him out to be, to stand firm and to say, "The Lord will hand you over to me." And so thanks for calling out. We're not changing the story. Please know, leaders, that is not what we're doing at all. It's just we're trying to hone in on that part of how David was so confident in his identity and so confident in his security in who God is, that he could trust God to do something that seemed impossible to everyone else on that hillside. So such a great reminder. Thanks, Crystal. Rachel, how can help us make the link here between our main idea of always trusting in God and greater security. Help us make that connection for preschoolers and kids.
Well, I think learning that God can always be trusted will help preschoolers and kids have an incredible foundation of security in the future, because following God is such a joy.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean our lives are easy. And every preschooler and every kid that we have in our ministries is going to have many periods of their lives where they're going to go through really hard times. They're going to be called by God to do something that seems difficult. They're going to feel alone or feel like they just can't get through whatever's happening. And but the incredible truth is, no matter what's happening in their lives, what they're going through, God can always be trusted. And I think knowing that at such a young age, knowing they can rest in God and trust God. And we were just talking about this at church yesterday. Have an anchor to know that they're securely held by God will set them up to be able to do anything God calls them to do, and to be able to trust Him in all situations and circumstances, because that's where our security is. And that's how we know God takes care of us, is because He can always be trusted. And we can always know that no matter what He's calling us to do, no matter what's going on in our lives, no matter what's going on to the people we love and care about, we know that despite our circumstances, God is trustworthy, and we are secure because He never changes, and He's always with us. And I think it's such an incredible foundational truth for kids and preschoolers.
Thank you. Let's shift our mind for just a second as we help our Hi-Fi leaders, because some of them, some of their leaders, some of the families in their ministries have no doubt been hurt by people who were not trustworthy and call themselves Christians by the church. And so when we go into a session, there may be leaders, there may be parents, there may be even older kids who have this sense of the church can't be trusted. I can't, I have a hard time believing that God can be trusted because the church has hurt me and cannot be trusted. And so, what encouragement can we offer to our leaders? What encouragement can we offer to kids and to even families that 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 our trust is in God, the Creator, God, the trusted One, not in the fact that the way they've been hurt before is not the thing that has to rule their experience.
That's a great question, Jeremy. I know I grew up in a ministry home. My dad was a pastor growing up, and he's still a pastor. And I think that's something that we had to learn, even that no matter what has happened in the church, no matter what has happened in our relationships with people and how we have been hurt or what we've experienced, that doesn't reflect who God is. Sometimes we as people, we just miss it. We get it wrong, and we don't treat people like God would want us to treat them. And when we do that, when we get it wrong and when we miss it, it doesn't reflect what God would want us to reflect. And so I think understanding that even people who love and follow Jesus still get it wrong. And whenever that there's hurt from the church or from leaders or from people who love and follow Jesus, it doesn't change anything about God. God is still good. He's still loving. He's still kind, and he can still be trusted. And it's hard. It's hard to make that realization sometimes, but it's also so good because even outside of the church,
Yeah.
there's hurt. In every corner of our life, there's hurt. And it's important to remember that regardless of how we've been treated or the things we've experienced, we can still trust God and we can know that he is good, loving, and kind.
Yeah, I don't know that I have much more to add than that, because really it's true. Like we cannot confuse God's trustworthiness and the trustworthiness of people, even the people who love and follow him. The people who love and follow him are still struggle with sin. They still make wrong choices. They still cause hurt, which is so hard, but God does not. The other thing that I would say is to really look for the trustworthy people. Like make sure that you are finding yourself in community. And usually this isn't going to be the community of your whole church. It's usually the community of a small group or home group, or even a community of a mentorship relationship of somebody who, or people who are proven trustworthy over time. And then the other thing that I would say is when you think about the hurt that's been caused to you, use that to motivate you to be a trustworthy person. When we remember how we have been hurt, it can help us to ensure that we don't hurt other people in the same way. And so let's also focus on becoming trustworthy people ourselves. We also will not be perfect, but we can be really, really conscientious of how our attitudes and our actions and our words and our decisions can impact the way that other people feel about Christians, about God, and about the faith.
Very insightful, ladies. That is so helpful because we need to have our eyes and our ears open as we go into ministry and context. And that thing you were saying, Chris, I think that is such an important thing for us to carry with us because we have the opportunities, leaders, this week to be that trustworthy person in the lives of preschoolers and the lives of kids and the lives of families, to demonstrate that in a way that can start to bring healing maybe where there has been hurt. And it also brings along with it an opportunity for us to be vulnerable, age appropriately vulnerable with our kids and our preschoolers and their families, because if we have a misstep of trustworthiness, well, let's demonstrate the right action by just being honest. Like, hey, I messed up there. I had to do this with my first graders a few weeks ago, where they were looking for me to do something, and I said, hey, we're going to play this game, and then we didn't get around to the game. We ran out of time. And so very silly little thing, but to first graders, not getting to the game was a big deal. And so I had to say, look, I promise you we were going to play a game. We just ran out of time today. I'm very sorry. We'll get that game in. Maybe next week or the week after, I'll try to work that game in. But it just gave me an opportunity just to admit that, hey, I know I promised you we were going to play a game. We didn't get a chance to do that. But I think even small things like that acknowledge the fact that to a first grader, getting to the game was a big deal. And I didn't. I said we were going to do it, and we didn't get to it. So it gives us an opportunity just to allow the Spirit of God in appropriate and right ways and times to issue some healing when we can be open and be that representative of trustworthiness in the lives of the kids, preschoolers, and the families that we serve. Ministry leaders, we're so grateful for you. Know that we're praying for you this week as you talk about trustworthiness of God in this session. And we do get this opportunity to demonstrate the trustworthiness of God this week. And so we're praying for you as you do that. We also encourage you that there may be an opportunity for you to see something new that we have released already for this month. Released this month already for you, and that is our Easter event. And if you're an early planner and you want to get a jump start on that, we encourage you to go ahead and jump into the advanced planning section and see that new event there. Crystal, remind me what it's called.
The Easter Escape Room Challenge.
The Easter Escape Room Challenge is live for you in advanced planning. Hope that's a great opportunity for you to connect with the families, connect the families in your church, and even invite the community to come in and can make that connection inside through that event that we provide for Easter this year. Ministry leaders, we're so grateful for you. We know this is a great, we consider it a great partnership that you trust us to partner with you every single week as you serve the kids, the preschoolers, the families, the leaders in your church and community. We don't take that lightly. We pray for you often, and as you have the opportunity, we pray that you will be that representation of real connection and true belonging with the kids, preschoolers, and families in your church. So until next episode, thanks for partnering with us.